Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video. Again, pick up right where we left off with trying to get the forecast table doing a scroll pane rather than the other thing. Oh, that was interesting. What was that failure we just got? Oh, it looks like should contain... Okay, so that's working properly. But the next test makes some assumptions. That's actually the issue I was talking about last time, and that I changed the underlying implementation. Didn't really change the behavior, but the test broke. Again, I don't know. It's kind of a difficult problem to solve. But what I want to do is I'm going to say should be, we expect it to be a scroll pane, and then we'll say that node number 0 contains, or should contain, table. And we'll expect that to be the forecast table, and it will be null or something like that. Let's see. Again, really ugly. But if it works, I suppose that's good enough for now. Expected forecast table was viewport. I don't think that's what I wanted. I might have to go do a little research into how scroll panes work. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, do a little research into this, and be back. Okay, I'm back. I think I've got this figured out. It looks like I want to get the viewport and the view on that viewport. I haven't actually checked this yet. When I run the tests, I get a null pointer exception, which is actually correct behavior if this is actually null. So let's go ahead and toss this in, see if we get the correct failure. Expected forecast table was a JPanel. Perfect. So now, if I put this in there, that should work. Okay, the test passed. Now the question is, does this do what we want? And there we go. So that's good. These tests are pretty nasty though. Particularly this one. But I don't know. I mean, I don't see a better way of doing it right now. I do know though that this now is going to be just a disaster. Oh, come on. All right. Well, the ugliness compounds on ugliness, but it is working. Well, if maybe it's working. I did have that test ignored. Let's try that again. All right, so it's definitely imperfect, but as I said, I don't see a better way of doing this right now. So I think I'll let that be for now. And I think what that means is I do believe I've made the rest of this class irrelevant. I think now our application class can just be that, which is cool. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. I really like that. So I'm not going to actually, I'm not going to write a test on application because this is an example of that case where, you know, I don't think this code can be wrong. If it is wrong, it's because I simply don't understand how to write swing code, which is quite possible. I might actually have a threading issue here, according to some of the things I've looked at. But regardless, it's not something I'm going to try to write a test around. This code is clear from inspection what it does, and it's never going to change, or I don't expect it to ever change. So I'm going to let that be for now. I'm not going to write any tests around it, but I'm going to call it good. And this is the real test code, and it tests our application frame, and this is our real application. So this is all pretty good. I'm going to call that done. Now the next thing that we need is we need the application to close when the window's closed. Don't know how to do that, as usual, but I think there's something built into Swing to let me do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, do a little research, and come back. Okay, I'm back. While I was away doing my research, I found some documentation that talked about the threading issue I mentioned previously. So we'll come back to that later. But for the specific problem I'm looking at, what we want is we want the window should exit application when window closed. And what that means is that we want the frame get default close operation to equal window constants exit on close. Just that simple. So run that, it fails. Of course, that's an integer, so that's a very useless error message, but that's okay. Now in application frame, again, we can just do this. There we go. Now it says it's working properly. Let's check our assumptions. And when we close this window, it does in fact close the application. Now on the Mac, Command W should close the window. But it doesn't. So we'll fix that later too. All right, next, well, what is next? So we close the window on close. All right, let's go ahead and fix this event dispatching problem. I'm not sure how to test that, and again, this is sort of a boilerplate thing. So I'm not going to try to test it. I'm just going to do it. this wasn't so central, I might work harder, but nah. One of the tricks to test-driven development is knowing when to fold them. Okay. And actually, it's really hard with test-driven development to find this sort of problem. You know how I always talk about checking your assumptions. Well, this was something about swing I didn't know, and it was working anyway. So when it failed, it would fail on somebody else's system or in a way that was unpredictable. Test-driven development really can't protect you against that sort of thing. That's why it's really important to test your assumptions, and it's also important to have some other form of testing. I prefer exploratory testing as a backup to inform you of what you don't know. Test-driven development is excellent in making sure that what you know should be written is written properly, but it cannot ever tell you about what you don't know unless what you don't know is causing a failure all the time or most of the time. So anyway, I don't see any difference, but it seems to be necessary, so there we go. So what I'd like to do next, I think, is get some fields in here. I want to start specifying the starting balance, the cost basis, and all this. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, and not even sure how to program it. So I think that's what we'll pick up with next time. So it's a little bit early for this episode, but not knowing what to do on this and needing to spend a little time maybe doing a spike or something like that, I'm going to stop here. So thanks everybody for watching, and next time we'll get into some fields to start configuring this table. It should be pretty cool. All right, I'll see you next time.